Hello guys, so this is episode 3 of Drawing Your OCs. This episode is actually going to be an Inktober edition because it is October and I'm doing Inktober. Before I go into the main portion of the video, I'm going to actually explain how to enter your OC into this series. You create a post about your OC on either Instagram, Twitter or Drawing Amino with the hashtag DrawMyOCZoe. And due to popular request, I have entries going by email now as well, so you can enter via the email address on screen. All the same rules apply as social media and email, so please bear that in mind. The post's image or images need to include references of your character's clothing style and also colour palettes. In the description of the post, there needs to be information about your character as well as the backstory. I want to know about your character. The pictures do not need to be full body, but at least provide me with a head and a torso shot. But please do not use bases as your character entry. I also pick the characters at random, so there is no favoritism. Now let's find out whose characters I drew this time. The first OC I decided to draw was a character called Finnick. He belongs to the Little Brave Artist on Instagram. He is so adorable. His little face. I had to draw him. So this is his backstory. Finnick was raised by his mother after his father died in the Royal Guard. He got his horns and his ears from his father and his skin and hair and light blue and amber eye from his mother. He's very shy and easily embarrassed, being raised by a compassionate mother, but also naive and easily taken advantage of. When he was 12, him and his mother were kidnapped by the cult of the dragon's blood. His mother was murdered and drained of blood from her unconscious body. It was then mixed with the toxic dragon's blood while they tried to do their baptism ritual. They only got so far as to dip Finnick's leg into the burning substance, till a group of bounty hunters whom had been hired to get rid of the cult members shot the lot of them through the window of their ancient temple. The rest dropped Finnick and fled into the temple and left a crippled boy by himself. The bounty hunters retrieved him and brought him back to his godmother, who lived in Rusty's Valley. She then raised him and even made him a mechanical leg so he could walk. He never grew any taller and also grew a huge love of animals. His godmother was allergic to most animal furs, so when Finnick was 16 years old, he moved to the dark woods to continue his study on golem magic and animal care. So the first thing you will notice is that the paper is not white. It's actually a type of paper from Dupecraft's Paper Mania, and it is the Craft Stacks recycled paper that comes in a pack of 20 sheets. I've had this paper back for about 2 years and I've had no idea what to use it for. I have used the odd few sheets here and there, but to be honest, most of them are still in the pack. So I thought, why not use them for this particular Drawing Your OCs video? Plus, I really wanted to try Inktober on tan tone paper. This also meant that I didn't have to colour the OCs completely all the way and actually could create nice effects with having a mid-tone. I also use dip pens as well, and I haven't used those since my first or second year of college, which was 2015, so it's been a while. I will say that I have used them in my official Inktober of this year before I decided to use them for the Drawing Your OCs video, so that way I could just test it out. The thing is though, this was feathering like you wouldn't believe. I think it might have been the fact that it was thick recycled paper, but it feathered out thicker than I wanted it to. But I had to work with the paper and that was the overall challenge. So there is this thing that I did mention in my previous video that was about coloured inks in Inktober, and they're coloured ink. It's called Inktober. I'm pretty sure you are allowed to use it, and adding a nice pop of colour is actually really nice. I decided to use my coloured inks because some people are all about Inktober just being pure black and white. But to be honest, I actually like Inktober drawings that have colour and are black and white. You can appreciate both. When working on Tantone paper, it's less about the colour of the character and it's more about the tonal range that you can get. The white just pops against that colour and it actually looks amazing. So the next OC belongs to Falren from Twitter. I will apologise in advance if I pronounce this wrong at all. I've been pronouncing it Eris this whole time, even though in the description it actually says to pronounce it Ares. So I really do apologise if I say it wrong while I'm reading the story, because I usually am on autopilot while reading. So Ares is a part of a race called Sansar, which is a humanoid species averaging 5 feet tall, generally built very little. They live by the ocean in a tightly knit small city and frequently trade with each other. As children, Ares and her twin sister, Dwinhanna, were born into poverty. Since humans ruled majority of the land, they were always looking for soldiers. The Sansar are very quick and smaller than average humans. Oftentimes, parents who can't afford to keep their children have to give them up to the humans. Ares and her sister spent the first 5 years in school together, learning the language, culture, history, etc. of the world. At age 12, the children got split up into different fractions based on their strengths and weaknesses. Ares' sister went into medic training, as medicine had always interested her, while Ares went into training to be a knight for the king. In training, she had a hard time making friends. She was very loud and opinionated, and for the Sansar, especially a Sansar woman, it made a lot of the men uncomfortable. She grew to resent humans and care less about the cause she was training for. She was still an excellent student because it made her proud to be good at something. While not physically strong, she used her size and speed to her advantage. She was drafted into the King's Guard, a section of the military considered highly prestigious. A lot of her classmates resented her, but with higher responsibility came more freedom. The students learning under the Guard were given a monthly allowance and allowed to leave school grounds. Off school grounds, she managed to make friends with a few locals, including a Sansar boy with whom she was falling in love with. She would never admit it though, but she was jealous of him for being able to live with his parents. Along with spending time with her friends, she also got quite the reputation for being a party animal. She loves being around people, basking in the attention, drinking and sleeping around, but still manages to get through class as well. So nobody can do anything to stop her. For a time she was happy in school, but then she turned 17 and graduation came. When knights graduate, especially guard knights, they are given a special sword. The sword is fitted precisely to them and can help in times of distress. An extra little bit of information is that Iris falls off a horse and passes out, and her sword will let a captain know of her location so she can be saved. But also, it was droned into them from the beginning of their training that should they break even one of the laws, their sword would shatter and they would be given the most capital punishment a soldier can receive, having their hand cut off and being barred from the city. Ares was a good knight for the first year or so, until she got into her head to test the limits of the sword. Since there were many things you were not allowed to do with the sword, she figured she'd do something small, like chopping kindling, and if her sword shattered, she'd hope to get by on begging for forgiveness, coasting on by on her good graces with the school. When she broke a law and her sword remained intact, she continued to break laws, seeing how far she could push it. She got away with it for quite a few months, until she threatened to put her sword up a priest's butt, and her sword finally shattered. Immediately, the nearest captain was notified of what she had done, and she was arrested. Since the amount of laws she's broken was so great, Both her hands were cut off, and she was exiled. While attempting to scrape together a new life in the forest, since no human city would have her, she had no connection to the Sansar any longer. She met a Lazari woman named Kara. The Lazari are a rarer species, often nomadic and solitary, but with deep magical connections. Kara is a bit of a forest witch, very magically trained and smart. Iris, who becomes obsessed with the idea of revenge on the king for taking her hands and ruining her life, enlists the help of Kara, who first teaches her how to make hands out of magic, and then how to turn her body incorporeal, so that she may sneak into the palace and kill the king. Across the months they spend together, Iris and Kara find themselves falling in love, and Iris decides whether she wants to give up her life to exact revenge or continue with the quiet, simple life alongside the woman she fell in love with. So I will say that reading that backstory was actually really hard. I loved the backstory and the OC. The only thing is that the grammar just made it really, really difficult to read out loud, as well as there being no capital letters, so I can barely tell where a sentence starts and ends. So this particular Drawing Your OCs episode definitely challenged me to work with the materials I have, rather than buying new ones or using ones that I would normally use. So if you like this video, you can click the like button down below, and I want to ask, are you doing Inktober? If not, what other challenge are you doing? Or if you're not doing any challenge at all, I'd like to know. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!